When we imagine a medieval queen, we see power. We see gleaming crowns, opulent gowns, and an aura of untouchable prestige. They were the icons of their age, their portraits immortalized, their beauty the subject of songs and legends. Their image was a symbol of the divine right to rule, a perfect and serene facade presented to a world of chaos and grit. But behind the cold stone walls of the castle, hidden from the public eye, a very different story was being written. A story of sacrifice, of danger, and of a relentless pursuit of an unnatural ideal. What if the secret to that luminous pale skin that poets adored was a slow-acting poison, applied daily? What if the price for that regal beauty was a constant, gnawing pain? We are about to journey back in time, not to the grand halls you think you know, but to the private, shadowy chambers of these royal women. Prepare to have your perception of fairy tale royalty shattered forever. The secrets we are about to reveal are far more unsettling than any fiction. To truly grasp the lengths to which medieval queens went, we must first understand the world they inhabited. The Middle Ages were a time utterly devoid of our modern understanding of hygiene, medicine, or cosmetics. Disease was rampant, life expectancy short, and the concept of beauty was intrinsically linked to status, piety, and the ability to bear healthy heirs. A queen's appearance was not merely personal vanity, it was a political statement, a reflection of her kingdom's prosperity and her own divine favor. Pale skin, for instance, wasn't just fashionable. It signified that a woman didn't toil in the sun, marking her as noble and wealthy. Rosy cheeks and lips suggested health and fertility, vital for a monarch expected to secure the lineage. Given the rudimentary knowledge of the time, many beauty remedies were concocted from readily available, often bizarre, ingredients. Take for example the widespread belief in the power of rosewater and egg white masks. Sounds harmless, right? Queens would apply thick layers of egg white, sometimes mixed with honey or rosewater, to tighten their skin and achieve a smooth complexion. While seemingly innocuous, imagine enduring this sticky, uncomfortable mask for hours, day after day, in an era without proper cleansing agents. The lingering smell, the potential for skin irritation in an age of limited hygiene, and the sheer discomfort must have been considerable. Another common practice, often found in early beauty treatises, involved natural bleaches for the hair. Blonde or reddish hair was highly prized, often associated with angelic beauty or legendary figures. To achieve lighter locks, queens and their ladies might rinse their hair with concoctions of saffron, onion skins, or even urine to lighten it naturally. While not immediately life-threatening, the stench, the effort, and the questionable efficacy of these treatments highlight a desperate quest for an aesthetic ideal. These practices, though not overtly dangerous, already begin to paint a picture of daily rituals that were far from pleasant, setting the stage for what's to come. This, dear viewers, is just the surface. But the pursuit of that perfect, noble pallor often led queens down a much darker, more treacherous path. When egg whites and herbal concoctions weren't enough, they turned to alchemy. They turned to poison. Enter Venetian Ceruse, the most sought-after and deadly cosmetic of the era. This was not a light powder, but a thick white paste made from powdered white lead mixed with vinegar. The ritual itself was one of solemn dedication. Maids, perhaps unknowingly, would mix the powder, releasing its sharp metallic scent into the queen's private chamber. It was applied cold, a shock to the skin, and layered meticulously to form a perfect opaque canvas. As it dried, it would tighten, pulling at the skin and making genuine expressions a laugh. A frown, difficult, even painful act. The queen became a living statue. Worse, removing it was an ordeal of scraping and scrubbing with rough cloths, a process that left the delicate facial skin raw, red, and permanently damaged. This created a horrific, vicious cycle. The more damage the ceruse caused, the more ceruse was needed to hide it. But this physical discomfort was nothing compared to the insidious poison seeping into their bodies. With each daily application, lead was absorbed through the skin. The long-term effects were the stuff of nightmares: severe skin corrosion, hair loss, muscle paralysis, and a precipitous terrifying decline in mental faculties. Queen Elizabeth I is a famous example. Her iconic mask of youth was achieved with this toxic foundation, which historians believe contributed to her eventual death. They were, quite literally, trading their life for a flawless facade, and it didn't stop there. For specific imperfections, a stubborn freckle or a blemish that threatened the royal image, even more aggressive solution was used. Mercury, a dab of mercury sublimate, applied directly to the skin, could burn away the offending spot. Imagine the searing, localized pain of applying such a caustic substance, all in the desperate hope it would leave behind perfect skin. More often, it left disfiguring scars, which then required even more lead foundation to cover. It was a devil's pact. Mercury poisoning rotted the gums, loosened the teeth, and caused the uncontrollable tremors that presaged a descent into paranoia and full-blown madness. The beautiful, serene queen in the portrait could be, in reality, a woman whose body and mind were being ravaged by the very tools of her beauty. We have seen poisons that ravaged the skin and the mind, silent destroyers that worked over years. But what if the pursuit of beauty demanded a more immediate, more intimate form of self-destruction? What if, to achieve the perfect royal image, a queen had to willingly blind herself and poison her own blood? This was not just a risk. It was a daily pact with death, the most disturbing ritual of all. The eyes were considered the windows to the soul, and in the medieval court, they needed to be vast, dark, and captivating. To achieve this, queens turned to a plant whose very name means beautiful lady, Belladonna. This is the common name for deadly nightshade. A servant would administer carefully measured drops of a belladonna tincture directly into the queen's eyes. Imagine the initial, sharp sting, followed by a strange and unsettling transformation. Her pupils would dilate, expanding until the vibrant color of her iris almost disappeared, leaving a huge, black, unblinking pool. The effect was mesmerizing to onlookers, creating an alluring, dyed gaze. But for the queen, the world dissolved. The drops were a paralytic agent. She lost the ability to focus. The faces of her courtiers, the letters on a royal decree, the very features of her own children in front of her all became a hopeless, indistinct blur. Sunlight was agony. To maintain this coveted look, she had to sacrifice her sight, living in a perpetual, hazy twilight. Chronic use led to glaucoma, severe light sensitivity, and, inevitably, permanent blindness. She was admired for her beautiful gaze by a world she could no longer truly see. But the ultimate horror lay in the quest for the perfect complexion, a paleness so pure and ethereal that no external cosmetic could achieve it. For this, some noble women turned to the king of poisons, arsenic. They practiced what was known as arsenic eating, a minuscule, carefully measured dose. A few grains of the chalky white powder, perhaps baked into a tiny wafer or stirred into a drink, was deliberately ingested each day. The benefit was ghastly. Arsenic restricts blood flow to the capillaries and kills red blood cells, inducing a state of controlled anemia. This process bleached the skin from the inside out, creating a ghostly, almost translucent pallor that was the absolute pinnacle of aristocratic beauty. It also caused a slight swelling in the tissues, which had the temporary effect of smoothing out wrinkles. But arsenic is a profoundly addictive substance. The body would grow dependent on it. If a woman tried to stop, she would suffer a withdrawal so violent and despicable, vomiting, cramps, that she was forced to continue, and continuing meant only one thing. It was a slow-motion suicide, a daily commitment to her own agonizing end. It built up in her system until it triggered a gruesome death marked by violent convulsions and organ failure. Picture the ultimate, tragic scene. A queen, her vision blurred, two shadows from Belladonna, sitting in her chambers. Before her lies a single, chalky wafer. She willingly, dutifully, picks it up and swallows the poison that will make her beautiful for one more day, knowing it is bringing her one day closer to a horrific end. This was the true price of the crown. The medieval world, with its lead foundations and belladonna eye drops, feels distant, almost alien to us now. It's easy to look back with a sense of superiority, to judge the queens who endured these disturbing rituals as victims of a superstitious and unenlightened age, and in many ways, they were. They were trapped in a system where their survival, their power, and their dynasty's future were intrinsically tied to the facade of perfect, unwavering beauty. Their daily dance with death was not just vanity. It was a political necessity, a desperate attempt to wield the only power many of them truly had, their image. But have we truly escaped the shadows of those ancient vanity tables, or have the poisons simply changed their form? Today, we don't use Venetian Ceruse, but we chase unattainable standards of perfection fueled by filtered images on social media. We inject our faces with botulism toxins, Botox, to paralyze our muscles and erase wrinkles. We undergo risky invasive surgeries, starving and contorting our bodies to fit an ever-changing ideal. We scroll through endless feeds that tell us we are not young enough, not thin enough, not beautiful enough. The pressure to conform remains as relentless as it was in any medieval court. The story of these queens is not just a shocking historical footnote. It is a haunting mirror reflecting our own modern obsessions. It serves as a powerful, timeless lesson about the dangerous relationship between beauty, power, and identity. It forces us to ask ourselves, what rituals do we endure today? What invisible poisons do we accept in our own quest for an ideal? The gleaming crown and the flawless face of the medieval queen have been replaced by the perfect selfie and the curated online persona. But the human cost of that illusion remains painfully, and dangerously, the same. How much of ourselves are we willing to destroy for the sake of being seen as beautiful?